Welcome back to Key Point here on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana, on Facebook, DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. If you're just joining us, as I laid the premise earlier, a lot of the conversation this morning is going to bother on what has been happening between Parliament and the presidency. Two of the three arms of government that we have in this country. Some say that this is good for our democracy because then it brings out the strength and the flex of power of the two arms of government. But others say that this is toxic for our democracy because we cannot continue on this path. And at what point does all of this end? So that there can be some level of compromise and agreement on what has to be done going forward. But in the end, it is you and I, the Ghanaian people, who are either going to be beneficiaries or victims of all of what has been happening over the last few days gone by. Remember, we are very interactive. You can also share your thoughts and views with us as we go on here on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. And my guests already seated and those joining us virtually, some of them will be joining us along the way as we go. The Honorable Nelson Roxon Eche Dafiamekbo is Member of Parliament for the South Dai constituency. He is the plaintiff in this case that the Speaker of Parliament referred to. The reason why he couldn't proceed with the approval of these ministerial nominees. And then also he is one of the sponsors of this anti-LGBTQ plus bill. He's a private legal practitioner as well. Nelson Roxon, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, my brother, and good morning to Senior.
Morning.
We couldn't meet last week.
Yes.
I had to be in the constituency because of some rainstorm.
Again.
That damaged some of my constituents' homes in Chame, Blango, Wudome, and Germany. Over 120 homes.
Another rainstorm.
That's the thing.
It was a rainstorm, so we are appealing for roofing sheets to be able to assist our people. So, good morning to my constituents in Pekik-Balik, Bevetongo, especially to the victims of the rainstorm.
The rainstorm.
Yeah. They will hear from me soon.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yes,
and I wish them all the best for the Easter. Easter is next week.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll all chip in,
Yes.
every step of the way, and see how we can also complement the efforts that you are putting together.
Yes.
Also joining us is private legal practitioner and the leader of one of three individual bondholder groups. He has not been on this show for the past 2 weeks or so. Yes, and a number of you have been also asking questions. Martin Pebu is here with us.
Yes.
Council, good morning.
Morning, Mr. Kansi. Morning.
Welcome.
It's good to be back. Thanks.
Where have you been?
I had to travel a bit. Sometimes it's good to get out of here and push other things. Wait for doors, so I don't need so I have to see to the other commitments.
Yes.
Wait for doors, so when your farm is many,
you have to attend to all.
You have to
attend to
all.
Let me also thank you for coming. One of the senior members of parliament that we have in this country, one who is also a private legal practitioner for that matter, served in a number of ministerial portfolios that we have in this country, has contributed his due to the democracy and development not only of parliament but of this country in its entirety. I'm talking about the Honorable Samuel Atachia. He is also joining us on Zoom. Honorable Samuel Atachia, can you hear me? Good morning. Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Come. Hello?
Okay, hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. There's a little break in the connection, but we'll work at it as we go on. He's a Boko South Member of Parliament.
Hello?
Yes. I can hear you. There's a little break in the connection, but I can hear you. So we'll rectify as we go on. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you for joining us. Dennis Miracles Abuaji, who is the spokesperson for Dr. Mahmoud Bamia's campaign team, presidential staffer, is going to be joining us as well in a minute to have a conversation on this matter. It's also been a while that he's been on this show. And so welcome. I'll have a number of other lawyers also joining us as we go on here on The Key Point. But all of this started this week with a letter from the presidency to Parliament that they should not even transmit this anti-LGBTQ plus bill to the presidency. Then the Speaker of Parliament had cause to read this statement, the details of it, essentially saying, well, in that same spirit, I will not go ahead with the approval of these ministerial nominees. I want to take a look at what the Speaker said specifically, that led the statement that he read in Parliament earlier this week. Take a look.
The rejection of a bill's transmission without constitutional basis introduces a precarious deviation from established democratic practices and norms. Such actions, if left unchallenged, may embolden future attempts to circumvent the legislative process, thereby weakening the integrity and efficacy of our democratic institutions. The current impasse presents an opportunity for reflection and reaffirmation of our commitment to the principle of democracy, rule of law, and the unequivocal respect for the legislative process that forms the bedrock of our nation's governance.
Well, so that is the Speaker of Parliament there. And as we go on, I'll show you some quick text of some of the things that he captured in this statement, which has been described as worrying for some. Others believe that it is good for our democracy. Samuel Atacha is gone off, but we'll try to reconnect with him shortly. Dennis Miracles Abuaji is joining us as well in the studio. Dennis, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Alfred. Good to see you.
It's been a while you have been here.
Yes, and you have been doing a lot of things, a lot of different things that we'll talk about later.
I see.
I'm sure you know. Don't wait for further comment. I said we'll talk about it later.
Certainly.
Exactly.
Anyway, we'll also have a number of people joining us on Zoom as we go on. But, Lawyer Martin Kwebo, I'll start off with you on this matter. And this is an issue that we've been following and we've indeed having conversations since the week began. Mm-hmm. Some say that this flex of muscles between the presidency and Parliament is good for our democracy. Others say that, look, this is toxic. It cannot continue this way because we need to know at what point it has to end. So that if these two arms of government have to be playing complementary roles, but now we are seeing how things are playing out, we should all be concerned. What's your take on this?
I'll tell you that I'm largely in favor of the current situation because, it's helped to test the boundaries of the executive power, and it's shaping our democracy well.
It's shaping our democracy well.
Absolutely. So when people say it's toxic, I'm like, hey, I'm usually non-confrontational, but from time to time, you need a bit of confrontation. Because when you have a president that hardly listens to the populace and elected representatives, not too long ago, even the whole of the majority caucus asked him to sack his brother but because they were making money, he refused to sack him as finance minister, etc. You know, so many examples. You need things like this to put him in check. You know, especially also in the context of a president who last year made it very clear that he's tired, he's bereft of ideas, he can't handle the economy anymore, and says he's waiting for the next leader, but would not leave as required by Article 60, Clause 13, that if he and the vice president resign today, within 3 months, there will be an election, right? So this particular incident is good riddance. It's helped us to show him a bit that, look, it's not as if all the powers in Article 58, he can just, you know, walk roughshod over Parliament and everybody in Ghana. So this is really, really good. So when I see people say this is toxic, I'm like, do they live in Ghana? Or these are die-hard MPP people masquerading in other, you know, venues and faces? Because anybody who has lived there and seen how President Akufo-Addo has ridden us roughshod should be very excited.
Excited about this?
Yes, that there's been a check, because from time to time it's good to check him. And Speaker Bagbin is done absolutely marvelous. And of course, we should be thanking Roxanne Nelson Dafemoko for initiating the process. Yeah, Akufo-Addo has to be checked. Yes, things because Article 58 says that the executive power is in the president, etc. But you need the cooperation of other arms of government. So they'll tell you all the cases under separation of power. They'll tell you that yes, there's separation of power, but there's also cooperation and interdependence, etc. You hear the famous Youngstown Sheet case, in constitutional law, and we also have to form Attorney General. Yeah, Justice Blackburn and the rest. They'll tell you yes.
We went to town.
Exactly. Okay, so let's come back to say
so does this not hurt the cooperation that we're talking about, that these arms of government have to have?
No, so there must first be the conflict, and then so that's what's going to hit the president and make him see that, oh, he's gone overboard, so he needs to, you know, reach out to the speaker. Then they see what they can do. Okay? Yes, because naturally you remember Speaker Bagbin even under the previous administration. He said he used to advise JM in private. JM wouldn't listen. Then he came out public and said he would advise JM on radio. So if everybody's been talking to Akufo-Addo will not listen as president, this is the next step. So you just take it. And so, but let's get this point to be very clear. Let's not make it look like it's just a tit for tat. No. Yes, I was one of the first persons to start saying tit for tat.
Yes.
But I made the point that that is on the face of it. You see, there are various levels of analysis. On the face of it, you may think it's just a tit for tat. But when you go deeper, you find that both the president and the Speaker of Parliament are talking law. Yes, they are talking law, which is that straight away. When the matter is in court, don't do anything that renders the case nugatory. In simple terms, don't do anything that will make the case a foolish case. Don't. Those are laws of contempt. And look, as recent as 6th June 2018, in the case involving the Bank of Ghana governor, Addison, the Bank of Ghana, Caroline Otu, the Secretary, Yahweh Frifa, etc. In the court, in the process of the Supreme Court affirming the Court of Appeal decision that committed them for contempt, or loosely, let's say convicted them, though technically they will be told that when it's contempt, don't say conviction, maybe committed. But so if in the process of using committed, I say convict, please just forgive. You know, sometimes in a hurry, we make those small mistakes. Yeah. The Supreme Court reiterated the principle that it is still good law that when the matter is in court, whether there is an application for injunction or not, or whether there is an order, express order of injunction or not, stay your hands. Don't do anything that makes the case a foolish case. So in this case, the president is right, and he has my support, 130%, where he says he's not signing the anti-gay bill because it is pending, the case is pending in the Supreme Court.
You support the president's stand on that?
Yes. And so for me, you know, for a long time now, I mean, since I saw that his governance is bad, I stopped supporting him, though I voted for him to come. So for me today to support the president, then you know that he really must be right. It's not 50-50. I'm very clear in my mind.
That if there is a case pending in court,
yes,
the one in June 2023 and the Richard Sky one, in your view, contrary to what the minority and others think, the president should not sign the anti-gay bill because these cases are in court?
Absolutely. 130%. You ask me 1,000 times, I will come back resoundingly in favor of the president not signing. Look, if we are in a hurry, like you know how the president said he was in a hurry in the first term and then ended up throwing us into this deep crater. If we are in a hurry, Honorable Dafemekwe is here. We know what to do. Ask for an expeditious trial. Yes. I see. Yes, we call abridgment of time and all those things. Explore that. Talk to the Supreme Court. This is a matter because, you see, I've seen how various stakeholders in the country are coming and baying for the blood of the president, saying he should sign, please. You know, I've seen even my own church, the Catholic Church is not happy, etc. But, you know, we live in a country of laws. Yes, we know in the past the president hasn't, you know, his conduct hasn't been the best. Okay, it's about the worst performing president in recent times, right? But that notwithstanding, he says this time he wants to live within the law. And living within the law says that he should not sign until the Supreme Court is done. Yes, let's give him that because we are building a democracy. Otherwise, we are saying that because while the e-levy suit was pending, he went ahead and signed and all those things. So because of that, it follows that he must sign this one too. Then it means that we're saying we should not improve our governance. That's the argument. He did things that were very unpalatable yesterday. And today we are asking him to do the same things. You know, then it means that we are not progressing. Yes. Okay. So this is the Bank of Ghana case. As recent as 2018, as far as I'm aware, that's the most recent on this matter. The Supreme Court is very clear. And it didn't start with this Bank of Ghana case. Listen, in our history, I'm sure you've heard of Kwame Nkrumah's minister, Krobo Duse. Krobo Duse was committed for contempt for this same kind of thing. That a matter was pending. They went to Parliament to pass a law that's Balogun and Eduse, they deported Balogun, those things. Robert Duse was committed.
He was Minister for Interior.
He was Minister for Interior. Yeah. Then you come to Second Republic. When you talk about Dankwa Buzia Dombo, Dombo was a Minister for Interior in Buzia's government. He did the same thing, deportations. I think it had to do with the Olympians or something. Yeah. The same thing, a matter of spending, they deported Olympians. Then Dombo was also committed for contempt. So it's always been good law that, listen, when a case is in court, whether there is an application for injunction or not, or whether an order of injunction has been made or not, there still remains a principle that don't eviscerate the case, the core of the case. Don't do something that renders the case negatory, useless. No, I've heard things, you see, but let's quickly add this last point. What we have is that it's also true that when it comes to statutory duties, government, you know, work and the rest, the fact that the courts have not been granting injunctions lightly doesn't mean there is a principle that a public officer can never be injuncted. Right. Please, let's get that very clear. I've seen some analysis. Look, there can be 1,000 cases. Right. So let's repeat this. That all those applications, when you seek to injunct a public officer, all of them have been dismissed. It is the fact that those have been dismissed doesn't result in a rule of law that once a public officer is going to engage in his activities, if you go for an injunction, what would you call it? The injunction, because it will fail, there's a principle that for public officers, they are free to do anything. Then that would be a lawless country. That would be a lawless one. That's why I said that. Then what we should be looking at is that in situations like this, ask for an abridgment of time. When we say abridgment, cut short the time. So if the thing is going to be done in, let's say, 2 weeks' time, you can go to court, apply to the court, show reasons why the motion should be heard tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
Then once the way is clear, that will be it. Because I've looked around other democracies. You've seen how in the advanced countries, they stop the public functions, public statutory duties. They stop them and go into the case and finish before anybody decides to do anything. A few years ago, didn't you see Brexit? A few years, didn't you see? If in Ghana here, let's look at one classical example. In the previous administration, Professor Kweku Asare, in one of the cases, took this constitutional review matter to court. A lot of us were not happy because we wanted constitutional review, the constitutional review to be done quickly, right? So that we amend the constitution and get better governance. Yet he took the matter to court. What did JM do? There was no application for injunction. No order of injunction was granted. Yet JM was president, right? He stayed his hands for over 2 years. By the time the Supreme Court was done, time had run out. So long story short, eventually we didn't get the constitutional review that we needed. And since then, Akufo-Addo came, he promised you do something, he didn't. We didn't get election of MMDCs and the rest. See how we lost. Yet it was just one person who went to court. And the rest of us have lost so much. Yeah, that is rule of law. So today, to say that, we should just ignore the Supreme Court processes and ask the president to sign the anti-gay bill, it's not something I can support in good conscience, not with the law that I know. Well, and in the same measure, the speaker too would not ask for the approval to continue until the Supreme Court is done with Honorable Dafia Mekpe's case. And let's add this. Look,
I want to hold on to that thought. Don't lose it, respectfully, because there are others who might hold contrary views based on the position that you've taken.